Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, we say hello to our new summer style icon, Pascal. It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. We've got a good show for you today. We are going to be talking about the news from the week, including the reveal of a Pokemon MOBA and summer updates coming to Animal Crossing. And then on Thursday, we're going to be talking about the Switch reveal event, because E3 month is not really ending. It sort of is, but it's not really. In the meantime, Mark, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Can you believe that it is July, basically?
No.
This year continues to be a year, does it not?
This year continues to be both a 48-hour span and a decade and a half. It crawls and flies at the same time.
It's like we're all living in those weird spaces in the Game of Thrones TV series where people would suddenly be able to travel across, the entire continent in the blink of an eye. And you're like, I guess theoretically it took them a long time, but also here they are. I feel like we are living in those subliminal spaces right now.
We're living it, which means it was real, and you all owe Benioff and Weiss an apology. Speaking of people to whom you probably owe an apology, would you like to borrow my copy of Sonic Forces for the Nintendo Switch? You can. All you got to do is email us at nintendocartridgesociety@gmail.com. And give us a mailing address, a physical mailing address. Can be a P.O. box, I guess. That's fine with me. I don't care. And I send you my copy of the game in a little envelope. It gets to you. It comes back to me. Doesn't cost you anything. It is the perfect program. Mark, we've got some emails from some listeners I believe that we should address. Our first email comes from Ian. Ian writes, "Hey guys, my sister and I are going to get a new Nintendo Switch, and besides Animal Crossing, what games should we get?" Your pal Ian.
Whew, that is a blank canvas, Ian.
It sure is. And Ian followed up to be like, hold on, wait, I want to make sure I'm getting the sequence of emails correct here. He says also his sister is more into simulation games and RPGs, which leads me to believe that maybe he's a little bit more into the action side of things. But maybe we start with the simulation and RPG side of it.
Okay. This got sprung on me, so I had no time to prepare my answers. So I'm going through my Switch Rolodex, being okay, what can I recommend? I think a good Switch starter pack would definitely include Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle.
Absolutely. A great tactical turn-based. It's cute and funny and fun. Great game. I can't recommend Kingdom Battle highly enough. Also, look, I will recommend Dragon Quest XI's Echoes of an Elusive Age Definitive Edition until the day I die, I think. It is the perfect Dragon Quest game. I love it to pieces. You'll get so much good use out of it. And I think it is a game that if you are hanging out with someone, like Ian, if you and your sister are playing together, it's not a game that, it's not, actually a co-op game, but it is definitely the kind of game that you can play together and contribute just by watching and by making suggestions and stuff. So Dragon Quest XI for sure.
And I guess depending on what you mean by simulation and depending on how old you guys are, I picked up Monster Prom not that long ago, which is a monster dating sim. You're in high school and you're trying to get different types of monsters to go to the prom with you. It seems really straightforward, but I actually found it to be enjoyably complicated. But not appropriate for all ages. So
not appropriate for all ages, but if if you're in like junior high school, I think you'll be fine. Like, it's a horny game, but like it's super fun, and it does have good local competitive play that'll work really great with the Joy-Cons. Again, there are two of you, so you should be playing that. You should be playing Box Boy and Box Girl. That's a fun 2-player.
And Snipper Clips, like, my gosh, Snipper Clips.
Snipper Clips. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so those are good places to start. Is there anything like specifically for Ian, like anything kind of like actiony that comes to mind for you?
Oh man, like not outside of like the big hitters, right? Like I would be remiss if I don't mention like Breath of the Wild is something that you just like hands down have to experience, even if you previously haven't been into Zelda games. I think it's worth giving a shot. Man, I'm trying to think what else.
I mean, I'll go to bat for the messenger every time we do this. It feels like it starts off as a very like action platformer where you're like a cool little ninja, and then it turns into a Metroidvania about halfway through the game, and is fun both before and after that transformation.
Oh yeah, and I loved Katana Zero, which is like a side-scrolling game where you use button combinations to try to like puzzle your way through different levels. It's all about like taking out enemies before they can take you out, and then you can like rewind time and restart things really quickly. I really love that game, and there's DLC coming for it someday that's going to be free. And I'm really looking forward to that.
Also, don't overthink it. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, basically a perfect game.
A new Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe. And oh my gosh, Tropical Freeze Deluxe. Yeah, there's a ton of great games.
Sorry, so we just told you to play everything.
Yeah.
So good luck, Ian. Then we also got an email from Jason. Jason writes, "Dear Mark and Patrick, those are our names. Thank you for introducing me to E3. I was pretty young when all the E3s you talked about came out, and probably would have never watched them. I agree with you guys that Nintendo did a good job presenting the Wii U, but we're kind of unclear about its abilities. I personally feel that it was doomed from the start, and the intro didn't move me at all. When I watched the DS launch, I got really excited, and it made me want to play my DS, even though I hate its touch controls. I feel like the Wii U seemed too similar to the Wii, and that's why no one bought it. I also agree that watching the Wii U only made me think of the Switch. I know Retro Month is over, but could you briefly talk about the first 10 minutes of the 2014 Nintendo Direct? It's a hilarious intro, and I'm curious about your thoughts. Thank you so much for making a great show. I really enjoy listening to it, and look forward to each episode. Jason." Thank you, Jason. That's very nice of you. I wasn't sure that we were actually going to drive anyone back to watching these E3 presentations, but it's cool to know that someone else is experiencing them with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when we were like, not like super positive about the Wii U one.
But weird and worth checking out maybe. So Mark and I did sort of refresh ourselves on what the first 10 minutes of the 2014 Direct were, and it starts off with like a robot chicken sort of like thing with Reggie and like someone heckling him in the crowd. This is maybe Nintendo at their most like baiting the audience.
I also just hats off to Robot Chicken. That is a franchise with legs, like surprising legs. It's like the Tosh.0 of like stop motion animation, where it just like Robot Chicken, was like when I was in college, and then
it's been around forever.
It still existed in 2014 and still persists in some form today.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Family Guy in that regard, right?
Right.
So, and then like that's like the first like minute or so, and then after that it is basically a big Smash Brothers blowout, leading from the reveal of the Mii fighters, and specifically of Reggie and Miyamoto or
Iwata. Yeah, and like the way they do it is like, I mean, they are beating each other up in real life essentially. Like Reggie gets sucked into the game and he's like fighting Iwata, and then they turn into their Mii selves. It's pretty funny. Like, I mean, really, this was the height of like we were in a golden age of Nintendo Direct silliness. Like I think the next year is when we got Puppet, Reggie and Puppet Iwata and Puppet Miyamoto. Like
It may have even been in the same year, right? Because I don't know that was a an E3 presentation, but just a Nintendo Direct.
Oh yeah, it could have been. Yeah. So like we were again like we talked about before. Watching these E3s was a little bit like hanging out with our friends, and they like it was total cult of personality where they were just having fun and like doing these kind of like off the wall bonkers things.
Yeah, and I mean it's there are like some ways that it can be a little bit frustrating, especially when you're watching these things live, where you're like, I just want to know what Nintendo games I'm going to be playing next year, and they're like, here's a sketch about us, being mean to our fans, and then like here's another sketch about us fighting. Like it's also well, and like especially because Smash for Wii U is teased in the 2011 presentation. This is 3 years later, and they're still like, yeah, I don't know, show them Smash again. I don't know.
But I think like we've talked about in the past how like we are as fans we are just insatiable, right? Like as soon as you tell us reveal new games or you tell us news, like we're like, okay, great, but like what's next? Like we even on this show we're like, okay, we like there's a Nintendo Direct, let's talk about like what wasn't in the Direct. And
we're the worst.
And I feel like I didn't really remember the 2014 one specifically, but I do think that those moments of like fun and silliness are what people actually remember from those, and it's not really the game reveals.
Yeah, no, I think that's right, especially because like a game reveal after the game has come out, the game reveal doesn't really like register anymore. It doesn't mean anything anymore.
Yeah.
So thank you for writing in, Jason, and thank you for sending us back to 2014. As we mentioned at the top of the show, we're not done looking back at Nintendo presentations. We are, who was it on Twitter that suggested that we, sorry, we're
we'll know for Thursday.
We'll shout you out on Thursday. Suggested that it is a shame that we go out on a down note discussing the 2011 presentation. So we are going to talk about the 2016.
No, it was like January 2017.
Was it January 2017? Outrageous. So we're going to go back and talk about that. I know we have recorded and released an episode about this when we were but a baby podcast, but we're not going to go back and refer to that at all. We're just going to go into it cold. It's going to be great.
Also, it was Jason. It was Jason who recommended we do this.
Thank you, Jason. All right. Well, let's talk about what we've been playing this week. My copy of Ring Fit Adventure has arrived. It is in my home, and my muscles are sore now because of it.
No, it's so okay. So, had the Ring Fit Adventure. I am loving it. I am totally sold on this game. I was telling my family over the weekend. I was like, you should all buy this. If you can find it, like I think it's awesome. I'm totally sold. But I, for now, have adopted a every other day schedule, but after the first time, my muscles were so sore that it was like, I did it, waited 3 days, and now I'm on like an every other day schedule. Because after that first time, it was unbelievable how sore I was.
Well, and you played through the whole like first area your first time, right?
Right.
On my first try, I just did the first like the two opening levels, and then I was like sweaty, and it was like, do you want to go into the boss fight? And I was like, I can't do that now. So I put it down, and like you, waited 2 days. And then when I went back to it, I started back at the beginning and did like all 3 of them back to back. And then was like, okay, great. Now I'm going to get on an every other day, which is where I am now. So today was a day off for me. I'm back on tomorrow. I'm in the middle of the second world. And yeah, I think it's great. It's so like encouraging and dorky. And I love like I don't know if I just haven't played it enough yet, but like the voice cues aren't annoying to me. I never feel like the game is being like patronizing to me, even when it's telling me I'm doing something perfectly. I agree. I take the note.
I play it on
Yeah.
mute. I like put my own
Oh,
headphones
do you?
in and like listen to music. But one of the things I really appreciate about it is like you play for maybe like 15 minutes of exercise because the timer
Yeah.
only like counts when you're moving, and then it's like, hey, do you want to stop? And I'm like, yeah, I guess I do. Like, I don't know, there's something that it feels very um like when you work out with a personal trainer, they are all about like pushing you to the limit, right?
Yeah.
Like they and Ring Fit Adventure is not like that at all. And I'm like really
No.
appreciating it, where it's just like, yeah, like you should take a break so you want to do this tomorrow. Like don't like kill yourself today and not want to come back. Like just like, and if you want to really push yourself, you can. Like you can crank up the difficulty. I don't know. I feel like it's just found, at least for me, it is like it's just really smart. Like it finds like that sweet
Yeah.
spot of difficulty where you're like, oh yeah, I'm obviously like pushing myself, but not like killing myself. Um, it like the way that it's set up where you choose what exercise you want to do. I find that like I'm like changing it up every time I do it, and so I'm
Yep.
working different muscles in a way that I haven't before. But like if you were working out, like at a gym, like they would encourage you to do. I like how like the cooldown, like the stretches at the end. Um, there are like set stretches, but the order or the one like they will incorporate different ones depending on like which
Yeah.
muscles you worked. And so I don't know, it just I've only done it for about a week, but it still feels like fresh. And I find like the tips when you're doing it, when it's like, yeah, like straighten your back, and you're like, oh right, straighten my back, like all that kind of stuff. I am just really shocked.
Yeah, and I mean it's wonderful the way it like you said, like kind of threads the needle of like just being the right balance of like inviting you back and pushing you while you're doing it. Every time you turn it on, it checks with you to be like, "Hey, last time, was that too hard? Were we too hard last time?" And you can be like, "It was hard, but I think that's right." And like it asks you to confirm like you maybe a little bit easier or like a little bit tougher, like no, right where it is. So like the game is very interested in you having the kind of experience you want to have with it. And yeah, I think it's just remarkable in that regard.
I got my husband into it, so like he's doing it as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, and oh, total sidebar. But in the past, like I've been like, oh yeah, my husband not really like a gamer, doesn't, and I have found in this quarantine that is not true. He's just not interested in like console games. But he probably like he's been playing games on his phone, and he recently deleted SimCity because he was putting a lot of time into SimCity. Like he was playing. I was telling him, I'm like, you play more video games than I do. Because when he finds a game he likes on mobile,
Yeah.
like he's like super into it. It's just like console gaming doesn't mean anything to him, and so it's like
Yeah.
it's interesting because it's like, yeah, like my husband, who I always was like, oh, he's not really a gamer. It's like he plays way more video games than I do.
Outside of Ring Fit Adventure, Sarah and I are still playing Animal Crossing New Horizons. We completed our version of the Hollywood Bowl, complete with a stage and a grand piano that, yeah, we're keeping outside, but whatever. And, like terraced seating and like there's like a wine bar up there, and we made like a ticket counter that has like the Hollywood Bowl logo on it.
And just traffic as far as the eyes can see.
That's right, just cars everywhere in all directions. And in so doing, we got our island to the 5-star rating.
Wow.
Yep, we have the lily of the valley is growing in on our island, and we both have gold watering cans, so we're making all kinds of crazy flowers. Yeah, it's we're gonna talk about the updates coming to Animal Crossing, but I'm starting to feel like, uh-oh, we just hit that bar, and I don't know what to keep doing in this game.
Congratulations, though. That's awesome.
Thank you.
I've been playing the Outer Worlds on Switch still. Still really enjoying it. Again, like can't recommend the port to people. The handheld mode is rough. It's not too bad when it's on TV when you have docked it. And then I also picked up Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, which was released on Switch last week. And it's so I think it's my first time buying one of these like ports, or one of these like it's not a remake, like upscales. So
Yeah.
and it's really funny because I'm enjoying it. It's Episode 1 Racer, and that part of it is a lot of fun. But like taking the I don't know if they're like PS1 graphics or N64, I don't know what the port was based on.
N64, yeah.
And then just like up-resing it, like making it like really crisp and HD. Like I almost just wish it was a port of the N64 version with all of its like crappy graphics. But it's still fun. It's like it's a fun game. It's fun being in that like Episode 1 world back in like the excitement of the prequels. So for that part, I'm really enjoying it.
So I ended up not getting Episode 1 Racer, but did spend a little time this weekend playing Star Wars Racer Revenge, which is the sort of sequel slash like remake. I don't really know what the relationship between these games is, but it's the same basic gameplay, but just with more stuff to it. And I think I'm happy just having like that experience. I don't know that I need to go back to the original Episode 1 Racer. I didn't put it in the news, but the Outer Worlds developers have announced that they are working on a patch to improve Switch performance. So, you know, maybe you still won't ever be able to recommend this version of the game, but it could be a little bit better.
Yeah, I will be really interested to see what that patch accomplishes. Because I don't know how much you can polish it, but every little bit would help.
All right, so that's what we've been playing this week. Let's get into the new releases and what we might be playing next week.
Today, June 30th, The Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel 3 is released for Switch. This is a Falcom series, I think, that has been on PC and PlayStation 4. And the third entry is being released on Switch, and then we got confirmation that the fourth entry will be coming to Switch later next year as well.
Now I feel like Trails of Cold Steel is a series that we've called out on a couple different occasions as like a little bit of a curiosity. Is it something that either of us want to play at some point?
So I downloaded...
You played a demo, right?
I downloaded the demo and I played a little bit of the demo, but I have to tell you that I thought the demo was a really bad introduction to the game, or I'm assuming it's a really bad introduction to the game. It just kind of like I don't know, it didn't pique my interest at all. Like, I played the demo for maybe, like 20 minutes and I was like, I don't get this. I don't really understand what's happening. I don't understand the systems. This doesn't seem fun. It does have like a catch-up thing where you can read a lot about what happened in the first two games to get all caught up.
Yeah.
I imagine there's going to be, if they don't already exist, YouTube videos that can kind of get you there a little bit better. But it's a series that I've like heard really good things about, but like I just know that I'm never going to be able to get into because I feel like I'd have to play the first two games, or at least invest time to understand what's going on in the first two games. And
that also may not
for me.
That may not be enough either, because the Trails of Cold Steel series is like a spin-off series of like another like RPG strategy series.
Oh boy.
So I mean, this may be one of those unwinnable fights, like ever truly understanding a Persona game or something, you know?
But I guess what I'm hoping is that for people who played the first two games on other platforms, and maybe the third one, because it's been out, everywhere for a long time, and you're like, I love that game and I would love to play it portably, and assuming it didn't also already come out on the Vita, which is a strong possibility. What I'm saying is, like, I guess it's nice that it's on the platform, even though I personally have no intentions of playing it.
Especially since it portends the release of the fourth one as well. So,
right, yeah, another game that there is no chance that we will play.
Right, never gonna play.
Also, the Wonderful 101 Remastered is released on retail today. Man, I think this port bit it hard when it was released digitally, and I don't think anybody cared.
Even though it was successfully kickstarted, it seems like all the people that wanted it backed it and got their copy that way.
Yeah, that's what it seems. Also, I saw like a headline, didn't investigate it, didn't look into it, so for whatever that's worth, which is not much, that people who bought the who backed like the physical copy are having to pay import tax on it, which
Oh.
not like the kind of surprise you want. But again, unverified, what do I know? I like half remember a headline. And then on Thursday, July 2nd, Biped is released.
Yeah, and Biped is like a little 3D puzzle platformer, like co-op sort of game, where you play as like little robots on a planet trying to do stuff. It looks really cute, and is a game that I feel like was in a Nintendo Indie Showcase or something along those lines, and is one that I want to reinvestigate and see if it is something I'd actually want to play. All right. That's it. Those are the new releases. All right, Mark, let's close this out. Now it's time for a regular segment on our show. It's time for 433. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, wherein a performer or group of performers didn't play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of this show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo. So, for the duration of one performance of 433, Mark and I will talk about something not at all Nintendo related, thus fulfilling the contract of the piece. Mark, we have unfinished business in 433. So this is a rare 433 part 2. Let's call it 434. We are ranking the Disney animated movies of the 1990s. Now, these are just the big theatrical releases. There's no Pixar in here. There's some other, like the Goofy movies not in here.
Right. It had to be released by Walt Disney Feature Animation.
There we go. And so we had the bottom of this 10 movie list. Pocahontas is at number 10. The Rescuers Down Under is at number 9. Number 8 is Tarzan. Number 7, Hercules. And number 6 is Fantasia 2000. And I think that's right. I didn't actually, looking back at our notes, I don't know that we placed Hunchback and Fantasia necessarily.
I think I feel good about where Fantasia is. Like, I feel good about that being the remaining being the top 5. Although I have to admit, outside of Mulan, and seeing like the computer animated Lion King, I haven't seen any of the remaining movies for like a long time. So a lot of this is just based on memory.
And let's recap what those movies are. For the remainder of the top 5, we have Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, The Lion King, Hunchback of Notre Dame, and Mulan. So you think you're going off mostly memory for most of this?
I mean, I guess I saw the live-action remake of Beauty and the Beast, which was real bad. I saw the live-action remake of Aladdin, which was fine. Saw the remake of The Lion King, which was I actually liked less than I liked the remake of Aladdin. Yeah.
You've seen a lot of these remakes. I haven't seen any of them.
I mean, what can I say? I am like the
sucker for the
audience
movie
that like, yeah, exactly.
I tell you what, though, I will see this remake of Mulan in a heartbeat if it ever comes out. Because when Sarah and I saw The Rise of Skywalker for the second time, so not the time that we saw it with you, Mark, we had been out drinking before and then went to this movie. So I was pretty drunk when the trailer started rolling, but the trailer for Mulan started, and like by the time they started like kicking into the reflections, like the orchestrated music cue, I was bawling. Like I could not control my emotions. I'm very excited for that movie. I like Mulan an awful lot.
Me too. I think Mulan is the only one of the movies on here that like consistently moves me to tears.
I mean, so Lion King will do that to me as well. And I think Lion King is probably the best movie on here. I think it suffers a lot in the last like 20 minutes of Lion King. I think is kind of boring and bad.
When he becomes an adult?
When he becomes an adult and they go back to Pride Rock, and I'm just like, I don't know, like the fight, like I don't really care about. Like he's back. I feel like he should just going back is the hard part, right?
Right.
But everything else, I feel like the first hour of that movie is almost perfect.
So I like Hunchback a lot.
Okay.
I like the ambition of Hunchback a lot. Um,
Yes.
uh, I think like parts of it are like really interesting and powerful, but it has obviously like huge tonal problems. So I think it's fair
Yeah.
to put it next. I think like at number 5.
Okay. I think that's where I put it. There's another world where I argue for it being below Fantasia, but that's not this world. Um, so then, so we think I would say that my top is probably Lion King and Mulan.
Yeah,
And
I'm happy
then
with that.
okay. So those are going to be number 1 and 2, which just means we need to decide Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin. Where do they go?
So Aladdin, ugh, I don't know. Aladdin is like fun. Um,
Yeah.
I,
Aladdin
I
is fun,
yeah.
but I feel like Beauty and the Beast is probably a better movie.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right.
Okay. I don't know why I'm getting no audio from this clip of 433. That was the applause. It's right there. uh, but we're just going to run down our list here. Coming in at number 1 is The Lion King. Number 2 is Mulan. Number 3 is Beauty and the Beast. Number 4 is Aladdin. Number 5 is Hunchback. 6 is Fantasia 2000. 7 is Hercules. 8 is Tarzan. 9 is The Rescuers Down Under. And number 10 is Pocahontas. We were accompanied today by the students from the Royal Center School of Speech and Drama Music Theater Department, conducted by Paul Barker. All right, Mark, let's get into the news.
So last Wednesday, the Pokemon Company promised a big reveal, and reveal it was. They showed off a new MOBA-esque game called Pokemon Unite.
They sure did.
It's a free to start MOBA that is, or like MOBA like. I don't know that it's like entirely fair to call it a MOBA, but it has like the same sort of setup as like a League of Legends, where there's like an arena and there's different like paths, like a middle path and like a left and a right one. So the setup is very similar. It's going to be coming to Switch and mobile platforms with crossplay between the two. It's being co-developed by Tencent, the Chinese company, and TIMI Studios. Timmy, Call of Duty Mobile, and Arena Valor developers. Arena Valor, a game that showed up on Switch not that long ago and is like just a straight up MOBA.
Yeah, so we don't know when this is coming out necessarily, and it seems like this has been a little bit of a fire point here for fans. I think mostly because the week before the Pokemon Company had revealed a handful of other games, including new Pokemon Snap, which is a very exciting like kind of fan servicey. It's a game that people want to play, and then tease that like there's this other separate event that we're going to hold for this other separate game announcement, and then it turns out to be Pokemon Unite, which I don't know. I don't think the Pokemon fans are super excited about a MOBA, but like, are MOBA fans excited about a MOBA? They must
I don't know,
be, right?
but like, I feel like trying to please Pokemon fans is a fool's game, right?
That's a great point.
Because there's like, as much as we group them together, there's no like collective like like entity known as Pokemon fans, and the loudest ones are like always going to be the ones that are like disappointed by something. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, for me personally, this doesn't move me, but I think that people would be wrong to like undersell it. It's a Pokemon game by a huge developer who has had lots of success in this arena before. Um Maybe introducing like the idea of MOBA to people who otherwise wouldn't necessarily be interested in it. Like, I don't
Totally.
know. I think it has the potentials of being like a real juggernaut.
And also, like Pokemon have been successfully integrated into a number of different, genres of gaming. And just because, they're not like the normal like turn-based RPG, or just because they don't look like the rest of the Pokemon games, doesn't mean that they're not going to be either decent or even very good.
Yeah, totally. And I feel like it's such like a hard like uh rope to toe where you're like, okay, like I feel like we see Nintendo sometimes struggle with the same sort of thing where it's like, yeah, like you have these characters and you want to continue to like do new things with them and try different things, but then also at the same time, like Nintendo, I feel like especially in the Wii U era, there was a lot of complaints where it's like, man, just like slap Mario on anything and
Yeah.
just like call it a day. So yeah, I don't know. Like it's the Pokemon company. It's an impossible situation. Like what else are they gonna do? You know?
Yeah. And it's this year, like I don't think there is a mainline Pokemon game this year, right? Like I think that's what the Sword and Shield DLC is out here to accomplish, and then all of these little games are just sort of going to be peppered in here to sort of fill out that roster. And the next time we'll see like a big mainline game, either Gen 9, but probably not. Probably more of like a Let's Go second gen or something like that. That we'll see in like 2021 is my guess.
Yeah, I think that makes a ton of sense. Um, oh, Animal Crossing is getting a new summer update, launching later this week. It goes into effect on July 3rd. The updates includes swimming in the ocean and diving for sea creatures. You get in order to swim, you'll have to purchase a wetsuit from Nook's Cranny, and then the hero of this update, in my eyes, is the sea otter Pascal, who you meet out in the ocean and will provide new do-it-yourself recipes for like mermaid-themed stuff. And I love Pascal. My heart melts for Pascal.
This is great. I'm so excited for this. The idea of that there's space like on or around your island that you haven't been able to explore and you will be able to explore is so much like that blows my mind. And I'm super excited for like another set of pointless garbage that I can pick up every day and try to sell to Nook's Cranny or craft into something.
Or I think donate to the
It's
museum
great.
too.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I
Love having
love
new
that.
stuff to donate.
I love that Pascal has like a kind of like a Jacques Cousteau, like Steve Zissou type thing
Yes.
going on for him. Also, Gulliver gets some new duds. Looks like he's wearing some pirate clothes now.
Yeah, so Gulliver is one of my least favorite island visitors. You got to talk to him like 6 times before he even wakes up, and then he's like, "Find the pieces of my phone," but it takes him like 20 minutes to say it. And then you do it, and then you don't want to give him the pieces of the phone because you're trying to save up to get 50 pieces of rusted phone parts so you can eventually craft that robot someday. And then he's just stuck on your island.
Yeah, it like that is the same thing every time. Like when the other islanders come, you're like, "Oh, cool, I get to like do something, like I give them something and they give me something, like it's fun to see them." When Gulliver shows up, yeah, like it's this pretty much the same dialogue every time, the same routine. He doesn't do anything different. So yeah, maybe the pirate clothes pretend something new, although my guess is that it'll be Gulliver doing the same Gulliver stuff just with a new pair of duds.
Look, if it changes his dialogue at all, I'm all for it.
Do you have to talk to him in order to like trigger the phone pieces being in the beach?
You do, yeah. And you have to talk to him all of the time so that he'll stand up and tell you that he's looking for phone pieces.
You also get a snorkel and a mask just as a thank you for updating, and there's going to be another update in like a month from now in early August.
Look, I think they've sold too many copies of this game to not support it aggressively for at least a year. That's yeah. I am eagerly looking forward to. Look, the seasons always bring something new to Animal Crossing, but I think this first year with New Horizons is really going to be like some for real something new and something big every month, every season.
Yeah, I think so too, because like when the game launched, it didn't have a lot of these events in place, and they said you'll have to do updates, for like the winter events and the fall events and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, once they get through that year and all of those are like in place and in the game, like what does that look like afterwards? I think will be interesting to see. I mean, part of me is like, obviously, this is a great way to get people to like go back to the game if they like left it, like me. But also, like, I would have to do a lot of work to get to the point where
Yeah.
I would like really be able to take advantage of it. So I don't know, like part of me wishes I I don't know, like maybe would have left my island in some sort of state that I could just hop in and like check this stuff
No
out.
one told you to reset your island, Mark.
No,
that
no.
was a choice you made on your own.
Yep. Hasty
So wait,
decision.
are we still like friends in Animal Crossing even though like you reset everything?
I don't think so because I don't have like um I might have I don't even know if I got to the point of renaming my new island. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
So yeah.
Hmm. Well, so we need to you need to play one day of Animal Crossing so that we can have you over and you can see the Hollywood Bowl and
Yeah,
swim in
that's it.
our ocean.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. I just need to get to the point where I can travel to somebody else's island.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I yes, that seems achievable. I will do that. Oh, hey, this is what came as like a huge surprise, but I'm kind of excited by it. Bloodstained: Curse of the Moon is getting a sequel and it's coming out on Switch on July 10th, which is crazy. So, Curse of the Moon, the first one was like a Kickstarter backer like side project that like people
It
unlocked.
was a stretch goal.
A stretch goal, that's what you call it. Yeah. And it was developed by Inti Creates and it's like Castlevania 3 basically. And you and I both played it. I think we both thought it was really fun. And
Yeah,
the sequel kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, and the sequel's coming out real soon. Sorry, did you mention July 10th is when it's coming?
I don't remember.
Well, then let's mention it here. July 10th, Bloodstained: Curse of the Moon 2. It's coming with 3 additional characters in addition to the 4 from the first game. So that's 7 playable characters. And unlike the first one, this one has local co-op multiplayer, which is super fun and super cool. I kept scrolling through the announcement to be like, is there online multiplayer? And it turns out no, there is not. But it's still a good, super fun feature. Man, the first game was so fun and so like simple and just like exactly what I want from a Castlevania-esque experience. To the point where I haven't played the real Bloodstained game. What's it called?
I think it is like Ritual of the Night or something like that.
Yeah, okay. Every Castlevania and Bloodstained subtitle is nonsense. It's just something of the something.
So this game will be $14.99, which is $5 more than the original was. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, I'm in all the way in.
Nintendo held their 80th annual shareholders meeting last week, and Nintendo president Shuntaro Furukawa had 2 sort of interesting things that he brought up. First, he said that Switch production has now ramped back up to pre-COVID-19 levels, and stock is expected to get back up, so Switches will be more readily available later in the summer. And
which is good because Switches have been in fairly short supply. Obviously we have been talking on the show about how the Ring Fit Adventure was essentially nowhere to be found, and they're getting back to really stocking that, which has allowed both of us to buy copies of it. It's good to know that these Switches, following in that same sort of path, and that they're going to be able to get those on shelves soon.
And then he also made a comment about games that are due out by the end of this fiscal year, saying that while like development has been affected by people having to work from home, titles that are planned for this fiscal year or that were planned for this fiscal year are still expected to come out in that same time frame. So it sounds like they're not planning any there were no major delays, is what it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean the slightly frustrating part about that from like a fan perspective is that like Nintendo's been pretty secretive about their plans for the second half of this year. I mean, like right now, really all we know is the Paper Mario game coming out in a couple weeks, and then after that, the rest of the calendar is a one big question mark. I just want to know. I just want to know what we're going to be playing.
Yeah,
That's all.
me too. Me too.
But something, I guess, is the answer. That there is something still going to come out by the end of the year,
and really
fiscal
we're
year.
and really like, if E3 was 2 or 3 weeks ago, like it was supposed to be, we really only would have been like 2 or 3 weeks, like having we're only
Yeah.
2 or 3 weeks removed from having the information we would have, which, by the way, was usually not everything that we got for the year. There was usually a big Nintendo Direct in September that like also had reveals. So, but I agree, like it is weird to be in this like period of like not knowing, and I feel like we've kind of spent the entire year not knowing. We've gotten like little like 6 weeks increments, but like the whole end of the year and kind of like what's looming is still a huge question mark.
Yeah. Well, and watching all of these E3 presentations from the past has sort of illuminated for me that like Nintendo doesn't have back to back to back years of just like wall to wall games. The launch years of the Switch, the first 2 or 3 years of Switch have been pretty intense as far as releases go. So it kind of makes sense that like we are in a period now that is not as rapid fire. And I could be proven wrong, and we get some sort of Nintendo presentation in the next month or so, and we've got games, 3 or 4 games from now until the end of the year that actually mean something. But well, also maybe we just don't, and maybe this is just one of the quieter years for Nintendo.
Yeah, totally. Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles is getting a free light version. So this is the remake of the GameCube game that will be coming out fairly soon. I think in just a couple months, right?
August 27th.
There you go. The light version lets players explore the first 3 dungeons with up to 4 other players online. So it kind of acts as a demo. But the really exciting thing to me about this is that you'll be able to play with people who have the full version of the game. So if the host of your like party has the full version, like they bought the full game, then you'll be able to play all 13 dungeons with them, which is awesome, because the idea of the like if you bought it and then 3 of your friends would also have to buy the game in order to play it online, like that seems crazy to me. So the fact that there's this like free version or light version that'll allow
Yeah,
you to
totally
like
cool.
get your friends to play with you if you own it is such an awesome idea.
Yeah. Yeah, it's super cool, and it's one of those moves that you don't really see from developers all that much. And so like it's just really really awesome to see them doing this.
Yeah, because like the bar for entry is even lower because it'll have crossplay with Switch, PS4, and mobile, which I
Yeah,
had
I didn't even realize there was a mobile version of this game coming out.
no.
It's incredible.
So it becomes like so much easier to get like your friend if you own it on Switch or and your friend owns it on PS4 and like you have friends that don't own a system, like it just becomes so much easier to get people to play with you, which is so nice for a game like this where, Crystal Chronicles was predicated on multiplayer and having everybody cooperate together.
So I was excited to see that they were offering this crossplay between Switch, PS4, and mobile, and it got me thinking. Like, we've seen a lot of crossplay and crossplay announcements recently, but I can't remember there being another example of a Japanese development team offering it. It's usually coming out of like Rocket League or Fortnite or and anything else along those lines. I think this is the first big Japanese developer to offer crossplay, which just adds fuel to the fire that like that's the wave of the future. We're all just doing crossplay now.
Yeah, which is really like exciting and fun to see. So we've been talking about like leaked pictures of Super Nintendo Land at Universal Studios Japan, and originally it was supposed to open this summer, before the 2020 Summer Olympics in Tokyo, but then the Olympics got delayed until sometime next year. And I guess it was kind of like an open question, like what would happen with Super Nintendo Land. Were they going to go ahead and open this summer when Universal Studios Japan was able to reopen? And we have an official answer now, and the answer is no. They are going to delay it indefinitely. They kind of like it's like, well, we said it was going to open before the 2020 Summer Olympics, and technically that'll still be true because that is our plan. We just plan to do it sometime next year.
I love that the 2020 Olympics are going to happen in 2021. And I pray that we all insist on calling them the 2020 Olympics. And I hope that future Olympic historians have a hard time remembering why the Olympics happened when they happened and why we call them the year that they don't take place in.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about it.
This is where, you got to love like nomenclature and like copyright law because
Yes.
like that NBC broadcast is all going to be like plastered with like 2020, like Olympic Games because that's what they're called. And that is what Tokyo, has like in Japan have sunk billions of dollars into hosting. And everything's predicated on that like 2020.
Amazing.
April's NPD report revealed some impressive sales numbers for Switch hardware. Analyst Michael Pachter noted that the Switch's April sales of 808,000 were way ahead of initial estimates by like double. Like initial estimates were about 400,000. Additionally, that's more Switch sales than the PS4 and Xbox One combined.
Which is crazy and restricted by supply too, right? Like they sold that many Switches in April because that's how many Switches were out there to sell. If they were more readily available, they probably would have sold more.
Yeah, like they have pretty much they've been like Ring Fit Adventure on Amazon where they go like in and out of stock. And you have to like catch one really quickly. It can like Switch dollar sales year to date are also the highest on record. So when NPD talks about well, I guess they say it right there. It's all about dollar sales. So for the first like 4 months of the year from January to April.
Which is again another impressive line for the Switch to have crossed.
Overcooked 2 is getting some free summer themed DLC called Suns Out, Buns Out. Parents hide your children. It includes new chefs, new recipes, and new levels. And it's coming to Steam on July 5th and will be coming to consoles later.
I maintain that July 5th is a weird day to release anything. It's the Sunday after the 4th of July. Why would you release summer-themed anything after the 4th of July and on a Sunday? I don't get it.
Do you know what I was thinking? I was thinking about Mario Kart Wii the other day, and I remember going to Best Buy to pick it up, and that was back in the day when Nintendo released first-party games on Sunday.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's only within like...
Was that also right after the 4th of July?
I don't actually can't. I think Mario Kart Wii was like a around like Memorial Day. I think it was like a spring release, but
I think that's right.
But yeah, like it's only been I think since the Wii U generation that Nintendo shifted to releasing their games on Friday.
April 2008 is when Mario Kart Wii came out.
Man. Oh, hey, remember a couple of weeks, I was going to say a few years. No. A couple of weeks ago when we were theorizing that some new The World Ends With You content was in the works. Well, it looks like everything is pointing to it being a World's End With You anime. And we don't have any details about it now, but we can expect to learn more at Anime Expo Light this weekend. Potentially another July 5th reveal.
Possibly. And we wouldn't normally be talking about like The World Ends With You anime, but we were speculating a couple weeks ago about is this a sequel or something, and no, it turns out it's just an anime.
Which is funny because like I had forgotten about this because I was conflating it with the same speculation we were having about Kingdom Hearts.
Yes. We speculate too much on this show.
And finally, Tetris 99 is hosting its 14th Tetris Maximus Cup this weekend. The special theme this time is Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. And like always, score 100 points, and the theme is yours forever. It's taking place July 3rd through July 6th. And speaking of Tetris 99, so I missed out on can't remember which one it was, but there was a theme that I missed out on the first time, and I think you can buy them with tickets now. So if you earn enough tickets, you can buy themes that you missed previously.
I feel so betrayed by that.
And
it's good. I'm glad.
I'm convinced. That was very convincing. And double finally, Dr. Mario World has revealed a new doctor. It's Dr. Baby Wario, a baby character that I thought did not canonically exist until Patrick brought it to my attention. This marks Baby Wario's only second appearance in a game, his first being Yoshi's Island DS in 2006.
Also, it raises the question of, is Dr. Baby Wario a separate character from Baby Wario? Are they all separate from Dr. Wario and Wario? It raises a lot of questions, and I assure you that Mark and I are going to get into it more deeply at a later date.
And yeah, that is a threat.
And a promise. All right, Mark, let's get out of the news. Okay, that's going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Remember, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. But more than that, please wear a mask when you go outside. And thank you for everyone who's been doing it. It's inconvenient and occasionally uncomfortable, but I'm glad to see people wearing masks. Let's keep it up. I forget where I was in my wrap-up spiel here. You can follow us on Twitter. On Twitter, I'm at Patrick_Ellers. Mark is at MKE Mitchell, and the show is at Nin Cart Society. You can check out the Facebook page, which is just Nintendo Cartridge Society. Olivia Duncan made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8BitBetty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers inviting you to the Hollywood Bowl on Valhalla and saying thanks for listening.
My name is Will Himes, and I am a ghostwriter, meaning I write other people's books for them. And I have a podcast called I Will Write Your Book, which are recordings of my meetings with my eccentric clients, such as a woman blocked after one sentence of a children's book about her dogs, a romance novelist who dislikes sex, and a man proud of having sampled everything in his local grocery store. This podcast has been described as fully improvised, played by some of the best comedians on the planet Earth. Hey, that's pretty good. That's I Will Write Your Book on Campfire Media.
Campfire.